This will be one of my longest monologues to date. I don't even know where to start. But, as usual, you'll always get some kind of idea that just pops into your head. So I am going to start by announcing that I am living back in Winnipeg, Manitoba again. And I suppose the first order of business is why I came here. And I suppose the answer to that right now is for the unknown. That's why I'm back here in Winnipeg, because Winnipeg has a population of just under 700,000 people. So just on the sheer volume alone, I should be able to find a niche into something where I'm comfortable. I've been comfortable a couple other times in my life. Working in transport, shipping, receiving, driving forklift, that's been probably my highest level of comfort so far. So I had feelings of comfort already, but it wasn't enough comfort to keep me satisfied. And that is where, in those prior times, I would probably get into a little more trouble than I should have. I wasn't as focused as I should have been. So for me to fall back into transport and hop back on the forklift again, it would give me some security at the moment, and for the foreseeable future, just for the close future, I should say, a few months, maybe even a year at the most. So that's something that I would probably jump on, but I couldn't do it long term. But I'm here now, and that's where I want to be. And it's exciting for me because I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet. So I have that feeling of excitement because it feels like things aren't predetermined for me, where I have to do one thing for the rest of my life. I'm still in that phase right now where I'm looking for something. And perhaps it could be a combination of 5 small things to make one big thing, or maybe it's just one big thing that I have to find. You'll have to this episode here of the Tyler Morgan Show is going to be a lot different than most others have been, because the camera's on, it's filming, and I plan on giving this a real good substance, a good amount of time. I was watching, I suppose my inspiration for this video here today is I was watching Inside the Studio. I forget the name of the host who does that show, but he's been doing it for 20 years, maybe 30, I think. No, he's been doing it for 20, but the show was actually on before he was there. He's been the second guest of the show, so the show has been on for a long time. Inside the Actor Studio. I've watched a few episodes today, and I watched one with Tom Cruise. These were all recorded 5 or 6 years ago, But when each episode is 45 minutes to an hour of just hearing somebody talk, that can be appealing. Given your mood and the setting, perhaps you can enjoy this. I'm sure I won't have as much to say as Tom Cruise, but I'm kind of cutting my teeth here a little bit, so this is a little more raw, I suppose. Tom Cruise is a polished speaker, and the two other episodes I watched were the Conan O'Brien 45-minute interview, and he didn't. He was a lot different than Tom Cruise. He was more of a clown a little bit, you know. He would get up and be animated, and he would do different things, a little bit of dancing here and there, and more comedy bit stuff than conversation, but he could also nail conversation as well. It's just, for him, he had, just like I was talking about earlier, instead of one major thing, like Tom, he just sat there and talked, but held your attention the whole time. Conan would do dancing and have tricks with water and steal note cards and talk as well. And both interviews were great, even though they were different styles. And the third one, I got not very far into it, about 20 minutes, and I decided that that was for Dave Chappelle, and that one was going well as well. It's just right now it's almost 11 o'clock, and the last episode of the Tyler Morgan Show, I had the little graphic there that said how many hours I had left in Brandon, and I've been here now for 2 days and an evening, and I still hadn't updated the YouTube page, so I decided right now would be a good time. And I do plan on I'm putting a lot more content up there. If I think to myself that I'm going to put on an episode here at the Tyler Morgan Show and knock it out of the park every single time, then I'm just delusional. And if I'm scared of striking out, then I'll never get up there and try. So I've got to know coming in that not every hit is going to be a dinger over the fence. So this brings me back around because YouTube, the Tyler Morgan Show is awesome. I enjoy doing it. I like to keep the bar higher. I like to keep the bar as high as it can go. But that doesn't mean if my level of satisfaction of, say, episode 24 is here, and I do episode 28 and it's down here, I've got to let that go in order to gain any real substance for the show. So the area where I moved back to here in Winnipeg, I'm familiar in this area. When I originally decided to come back to Winnipeg, I thought that maybe I would try out a different area of the city. But as fate had it, this is what worked out. I met a really good guy who had a house. I got a really decent room with new flooring. There's a couple bathrooms in the house, a couple showers, laundromat service, or there's a washer and dryer downstairs. So this worked out well for me, even though it's not exactly what I planned on doing. This will be good for the foreseeable future until I start to find my niche in the city where I'm going to be and where I'm going to end up. I have two immediate goals to do tomorrow. One is to go to a Smith. The name of the business is Smith Agency, and this agency finds work for people with certain skills. So I'll go in there with my forklift and transport experience and see if I can get some work just for tomorrow, maybe the next day, the day after that. We'll see how comfortable I am with my finances right now. And then the second goal I have tomorrow, and it's something that I really missed when I was in Brandon, is hitting up the tanning bed again. And what's important about tanning is I enjoy it. So it makes me happy and content. That's why I do go to the tanning booth, is because it's an activity that I can do every day. That could be one of the little small things that makes me happy and content over the long haul. And because, as I said, like before, I know the area where I am. I'm familiar. I would say I'm about 80% familiar with my surroundings around here. And luckily, in that 80%, there is the Sun City Tanning Salon where I could sign up, and I can do that tomorrow. The internet access that I have in this house is very good. And the website Wikipedia, I typed in Winnipeg and I started to look at what Winnipeg is truly all about. And that's what I'm going to do here when I'm in the suits, when I'm living here in Winnipeg, is take a fine-tooth comb and comb over all the hair of the city. And I'm going to look for little areas, little hairs. This is where the analogy goes to shit, but I'm combing through the head and all the hair, and I'm finding the little grays. And those are the little grays that I want. Those are the little grays that I'm going to use together to fulfill me, I guess you could say that. And I guess I'll say that. And that one was probably a foul ball, back to my baseball analogy. But I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. I've got to be focused on looking for the things that will ultimately complete me. I do have some here in the city right now. For every machine, there are several moving parts. This is a better analogy here. And in that machine, with all those moving parts, I have a couple of the parts. I have a lot of parts to find still, but they'll be found. And I don't even know exactly what I'm looking for, but I have a couple parts already. And for example, I'll use the tanning beds again. I'll take that little part, add it with a couple other parts I have already, like friendship and a little bit of awareness when it regards to the physical limitations of how I can travel from one end of the city to the other. And I'm sure that there's a couple other pieces I have right now that I can't put my finger on at the second. Sometimes you don't always know what you have, and it takes a little while for you to open up and see that. For example, my music collection. As I was buying CDs, I didn't really know that it was going to be that big part of my life, collecting CDs. And I know that might sound silly to some people at first glance, or at first detection, but something as simple as collecting or making a CD collection can make somebody, can fill them, can fulfill that desire inside of people. That empty space can be even filled with collecting CDs. But my goal is, that's just one part that I'm looking to fulfill. And when I started the CD collection, I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. And this all relates back to what I first started about, with episode 24 maybe not being as good as 26, but still getting a collection of ideas and calling them your own, like the CD collection. It's actually, I'm using some of the stack to hold the camera up right now. I'm breaking down the third wall for you here, but the stack of CDs is actually bringing the camera to an elevation that's high enough where I can do this inside the actor studio kind of deal. And so I can look at them and say, just pick them out of here. Like I have the Linkin Park Hybrid Theory, I have that album. And let's just say, for the argument's sake, I bought that one 2 years ago. And then let's pick out a different album here. Kings of Leon, Aha, Shake Heartbeat. Maybe I thought that album wasn't quite as good as Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. So even though it didn't reach that bar, as a group, they're still better together as a collection. So I can't rely on just one thing just to make me happy. I've got to have my finger in a whole bunch of different pies, and those pies have to be reliable all the time to keep me satisfied. So I feel as though I've wrapped up that subject not too bad right now. But I do need a quick glass of water, but I don't want to mess with the camera a little bit. I should have brought some water with me to this studio. And ultimately I've decided that I'm going to get the water. But I did wrap up the topic somewhat. But we're going to continue this episode because, well, one of the reasons is YouTube has given me the green light to post lengthy videos. Before, I think They started allowing me to do it, I think, after episode 24, but I have yet to post anything over 14 minutes unless you go way back to like episode 3 or 4 or 5 perhaps. So I'm going to extend this. I've been given the opportunity, and it's an opportunity where I'm not going to make huge strides in success. This isn't the kind of opportunity where I'm going to be all of a sudden a YouTube sensation, but it is an opportunity for me to cut my chops a little bit and learn the trade again, because earlier on I was doing this style of video a little bit, and then I took a long break. And once you get out of the game, then it takes you a little while, once you're back in, just to even get back to the level that you were at before you left. So yeah, I'm gonna go get that glass of water now. I'll be gone roughly 10 seconds, but I want to make this one continuous clip. So I'm not going to cut the camera. So if you don't want to sit here and stare at this chair for 10 or 15 seconds, then I would suggest maybe skipping ahead a little bit. Starting now, 15 seconds. Okay, here we go, I'm back. There are a couple other little petty reasons why I came back to Winnipeg. Petty in the grand scheme of things compared to what I was discussing earlier, and I figured, how why not throw them out right now. One of the little petty things is that I love Winnipeg in the summer. In the winter it can be tough at times because of the weather, but I wasn't prepared to miss out on a summer here in Winnipeg. So that was one little thing. That was one little reason why I came back. It's funny when you make decisions how many different aspects are involved, even though some are small and some are large. Like I said, those little ones can add up to be even bigger than a large one. And another little petty reason I came back was to watch the Winnipeg Jets final push here for the playoffs, and to be inside the city and feel the vibe for the hockey team. Because ever since I can remember, hockey's been a big passion of mine, and as well as professional wrestling too. So, and I was sorry that I missed the last WWE show that came here to Winnipeg when I was in my little retrieve in Brandon. I was sorry I missed out on that show, but that's just a small trivial thing again. I can live with that I missed that show, because they will be back, and it's right now I do have to focus on finding my way a little bit, even though those little small things are so important as well. You do need a house, you know what I mean? You do need that big power structure, the main event, if I can use a wrestling term. Well, if I don't continue to talk, then this isn't really much of a push for a longer video. And like I was saying before, this is kind of not going to be the standard for all the time. You know, I'm just trying to push my boundaries a little bit here with the clips that have been just previous to this. For the most part, there's been a lot of cool little editing and different shots with different atmosphere and setting, and even just some straight craziness. I remember one, I was crawling on the ground and asking for water very dramatically. This is a little more reality based. It's not so cartoonish, but you know, I kind of like the cartoonish stuff once in a while, and the super fiction. And this isn't fiction so much, really. This is more psychology type of stuff, I suppose, inside the actor studio kind of clone, I suppose you could say. But in the grass, when I'm doing the two different entities for the Tyler Morgan show, when I'm doing one, the grass always kind of seems greener on the other side, because when you're doing a lot of editing and artwork and sound dubbing and stuff like that, sometimes that can be a frustrating process, because it's not as artistically satisfying for me. The finished product is probably more satisfying, perhaps because it looks more professional, and it's a little more concise, and it looks like maybe that there's something behind you a little bit more, like it's more professionally done, other than kind of just ad-libbing a shoot, kind of like I'm doing now. Here I didn't really have any idea what I was going to be talking about for script and stuff like that. So on the other ones, there's more structure here. So, but as I was saying, when I'm doing these artistically, I feel like I'm maybe growing a little bit more, because I don't have a formula here to just follow a formula and then perhaps little ad lib here or there. There's no formula for this one at all, so really anything can come up at all. But I think one real thing that I've got to start doing a little bit more, and put a little bit more emphasis on it, is I've got to start planning for my future a little bit better. When you look back in the past, you can look at your mistakes and recognize your mistakes, but that doesn't mean that you won't make the same mistake twice. Or at least for me, I know I've made the same mistake 5 or 6 times, whether it's losing a set of keys or even, you know, it's another mistake, perhaps blowing too much money on kind of just like a whim purchase. So to get back to my original point, it's good to look back and see what kind of mistakes you're making all the time, and maybe if I did this little thing differently here, then you could see how that would change the structure of where you are right now. But that is important to do that, just to reflect, I believe. But maybe I've done it too much in the past, and even with these videos, I've talked a little bit about the past here and there. What I would like to do is continue to look forward, and similar to a map, I guess. If I'm looking at a map and I'm here, well, if I want to get here while I'm here, I have to look ahead and see where I want to end up. So once I establish the 2 spots, then I have to take the necessary steps to get there. Sometimes it's not just a straight line between here and there. So I'll have to actually travel the steps and get from one to the other. And there may be challenges along the way. And that's where resolve has to step in. Because again, I look to the past, because the past has somewhat put me in this spot. Well, we'll switch gears here. I'll let you know what happened there. It's funny, after all the trouble I went through and made you stare at the chair for 15 seconds just so I could have this all as one clip. What happened was the batteries ran out of the camera. So again, I wanted to have a goal in mind of just having one clip instead of usually my clips have been heavily edited recently with different angles and stuff. So I just wanted to have the one clip, but sometimes things are out of your control. Or maybe it's just stupidity on my part because I didn't check the juice in the batteries. If I was properly planning out a proper goal, then I probably, and that goal was to make a long video, I should have anticipated that I'll need enough juice for that. But because I was stuck in my other mode of doing kind of like a clip show, I had not thought about it, actually. I thought that maybe the camera just ran off of the light up in the room. The solar power thing. But that gave me another opportunity to get some more water, because this will be the 3rd night I've spent in the house. And tonight I've kind of noticed that it gets pretty warm. So I kind of lost my place where I was before. So rather than put you through the pain of trying to revisit it in my mind and working backwards to get back to the point where I was, because I did a little bit of running around in between, I think we'll just spare the viewer of that pain right now, and I'll move forward onto something else. Another thing I did want to get done tomorrow was to pick up maybe end table. And I do know where a used furniture store is, but the last time I was in there, they wanted, I think it was like $60 for an end table, and I think I can find one cheaper at a second-hand store that benefits the Salvation Army, or the Salvation Army puts on that store. And sometimes they'll have used furniture there, but I will need some more space because, again, back to the little things, I have a lot of little things right now, and I'm not talking philosophically now, I'm talking about actual little items that you can hold in your hand that I have, and they're kind of all on one big dresser right now. So it's kind of a clutter. So I kind of have to get another end table to support a big thing that I have, and those little things as well. I have a big stereo that I need to support as well. See, when the Actors Studio was filming with Conan and Dave Chappelle and who else did I watch again? Oh yeah, Tom Cruise. More specifically, the show kind of focused on, well, obviously the show, for the majority of, we'll say each show is 45 minutes. For 38 to 40 minutes, they were just focusing on the star. But it was nice to have the guest host, or the host of Inside the Actors Studio, come in and just give the star a little break, even if it was just for 10 or 15 seconds, just for a little bit of direction where to take them. And unfortunately, I don't have that right now. And I did do one spoof before where I kind of had a fictional character on the Tyler Morgan show who was interviewing me, and I just used a different voice. I believe it was an Australian accent, as much as I could do, something like, well, do you have any regrets in your life, Tyler, or something? I think it was something along those lines. Do you have any regrets in your life that you'd like to talk about? Something like that, anyway. And I don't have him here right now, because I'm trying to do this as a more reality-based segment. So I guess the most important thing for me right now, besides the little things, because the little things, they're a little bit easier to acquire. But in order to have that, to really get some roots down into the ground, I need the seed. So I'll have to find that major seed that's gonna grow my tree. And I don't want to sacrifice the little things just so I can get a bigger tree. I'll have to give and take a little bit here and there, but I'm not even willing to give as much as a lot of other people are. I kind of envy the Europeans a little bit, because from what I understand, a lot of those countries, a work week would generally consist of like 25 to 30 hours for some parts of Europe. And that's a lifestyle that I would prefer probably to live, but because North America, Canada, and the United States, in Canada, I guess I really can't speak too much about the Americans, because I don't know for sure, just from what I've read and heard, but first-hand knowledge, I know that here in Canada, pretty much 40 hours is the minimum expected work week. And in order to, see, this is where it gets tricky. If, say I take a forklift job somewhere again, and I put in the 40 hours a week, then 40 would be probably the max that I want to push that, because it's not a passion. You know, it's something that I can do. I'm good at it, so that doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. It's just that really, once you drive it for a while, and I have probably 6 years experience under my belt with that kind of thing, then you kind of peak out at it, and after that there's not really any fulfillment anymore, because you've already reached the top of the profession. Now, if I could do that for 40 hours a week, and then maybe get my foot in the door to something else, 10 or maybe even 15 hours a week on top of that 40, and I would only put my foot in that 10 to 15 hours a week if I felt that I could work 50 hours in that week and be happy, and then leave the forklift 40 hours in the past. Man, is it hot in here. It's unbelievable. Have some more water. But I don't want to totally bore the viewing audience of the Tyler Morgan Show with the job hunt. I'm back here in the city. I have a lot of stuff, but a lot of opportunities I can look at, and that's the stuff I really want to explore. Is for the YouTube channel is the small little things as well. We try and get those involved. And believe me, smoking isn't one of them. That's just a given, I guess, for me right now. And while I'm discussing this, whoever's watching, I'm sure has their own thoughts of what's going on. You could be thinking that I'm a complete idiot right now, or you could be thinking that I'm making some sense. Or you just might have me on for background noise while you're playing an online game. Who knows? Yeah, something definitely stinks, and it's this cigarette. Yeah, it's hot. It's very hot in here. Let's see if this helps. Oh, put that back on, they say. God, the horror. Oh. I'll try and keep this at a minimum. Try some water again. And now that the shirt's off, I can cover a little bit of the weight topic. I was gone for the winter, and I put on, well, I was about 180 when I left, and now I'm about 210. So I put on about 30 pounds over the winter. And another little small thing that I want to do, this one will take a little bit more road work and mapping out, planning, because I'm not familiar with a pool location close to me, or that is possible. So I'll have to find the closest one that offers swimming lessons, and I've covered this before. I don't know how to swim, but I've heard that swimming is some of the best exercise you can get. And I do like water. I just don't like very deep water. So I'll have to find a pool with a learning how to swim instructions, a program. So that's one other little small thing, and then hopefully, and I'm very optimistic about it, I can get back to my target weight of about 180. Because I'm 6'3" almost, 6'2.5". And I'm not really the kind of guy who likes to go to the gym and pump iron. I've tried it, I've given it a shot, and I can't really get into it. It's not, it's almost hell for me. I really don't like weights, which is funny because of my professional wrestling love. You would think that I'd be able to push weights a little bit, but that's not the case. So the swimming thing hopefully will cut down, and it's all time too. That's the thing. Like if if I sleep 8 hours a day, that leaves me 16 hours left in the day. And depending on the work week, it could be 8 to 10 hours, maybe 6 even, who knows. We'll say it'll be 8 hours right now. So 24 hours, subtract 8 for sleep, 8 for work, 24, subtract 16, still leaves another 8 hours in the day. The tanning deal will be about half an hour. If I can find a good swimming program for swimming instruction, say it'll be 2 or 3 times a week, and that'll be another hour. It's all about, for me, my goal is right now is to fill my day with activities that I want to acquire and learn and be a part of. It's kind of like Neo in the Matrix, you know, he goes and sits in their little computer program chair and all the wires are hooked up, and they insert the okay, I know how to swim. Well, unfortunately for us, that's just fiction. That doesn't happen with the chair and the wires and stuff like that. For us, we have to physically do the things, and they take time, which might be half the fun, you know. If everything was super easy, then you wouldn't really get very much satisfaction for it, because it would just be handed to you. You wouldn't even realize, you wouldn't appreciate it. And then another small thing I want to do in the city here. There's 700,000 people here. There's got to be some theater groups and stuff like that. There's got to be some kind of film industry alive in the city. I know it's not going to be Vancouver or Toronto or even Montreal, but there should be something for a film community, and I might even look at it like a Toastmaster membership, where that deals heavily in public speaking. So there's lots of little niches and little clubs that you can join here in the city. And eventually, I do want to devote some time to a relationship as well. And I haven't really had a long-term relationship for a lot of years. Like I've had some female friends, but it hasn't been love. I haven't been in love for a long time. So that's not really something you can plan either. That I think you can look for it, but you can't just make it happen like that. That is a totally entirely huge thing, because it's both people. You can't just depend on yourself to make it work. You have to depend on your partner to work within that structure as well, and to create in that structure, to be a part of that structure. You know, it's two as one, and that's something I do want, but right now I'll keep my eyes open, and I'm prepared. think we'll leave it at that for now on that subject. But I do know that I will add one little candy on top of the cupcake on that one. But I do know it would be worth it. And I can remember how beautiful love is when I fell out of love. I didn't work on it. Once I didn't feel it anymore for her, I just I ended it, and that's what I did at the time. But it was young love. It was young love. It wasn't like the kind of love I would find today. It was the innocence was beautiful in that love, and I don't know if I'll find that innocence again, that beautiful innocence that was based on a relationship, but I might. Who knows? Well, I have cooled down a little bit now, surprisingly. I had my jeans on earlier too, but I've switched into my Captain Morgan shorts. But I think I've cooled down enough where I can put the shirt back on. Who needs love? Ooh. So I guess I can. The future is so unpredictable. It's well, it's totally unpredictable, and that's why it's in the future. So it's sometimes hard to talk about the future because you're talking with rose-colored glasses. You don't know exactly what it's going to be. You can try to plan for it as best as you can, but that's sometimes we're talking about the current or the past is a little bit easier to talk about sometimes because you've already lived it or you're living it. So I was born in a small town in southern Manitoba, and I've moved around a lot. You know, I went to a school there, then I went to a school up in Lynn Lake. And the Lynn Lake School, I believe I started there in grade 2. And when we went up to that school, it was a huge, to that town from Souris to Lynn Lake. Like Souris is here on the map, and Lynn Lake is like up here. Actually, Lynn Lake, that's as far as the road goes. And there's no more highway after that, because that's really the tip of the mapped out locations. There are some Indian reserves higher than Lynn Lake would be, but that is the end of the road anyway. Especially in the winter, there are some winter roads to the reserves, but. So when I went to Lynn Lake, I was just going into grade 2 at the time, so very much underneath my mom and dad. Like the only thing I really knew was what they told me. I was very young at the time, and they told me and my younger brother that we were going to be rich in Lynn Lake, because like I was trying to get to before, Lynn Lake is the end of the road. So my father actually got a huge raise to go up there, and So he told me and my brother that we were going to be a rich family in the town, and instantly that gave me all the confidence. I was really peaking on confidence at that time, almost like I had potential to be better than everybody else. Because as much as people like to say everybody has that potential, sometimes people are just born right into an opportunity that just isn't going to work for them to reach a certain height. So while I was living in Lynn Lake, I feel as though I did the very best at everything I could. I applied myself as much as I possibly could in all the fields that interested me, and some other fields that didn't even interest me, but I was almost showing off at that point because I was doing so well. And I was there for another 4 years, and then we got the news that that position that my dad had, that was keeping our family afloat, was no longer needed. So he had to transfer within the company to another town again. So that's, by the time I was 12 years old, I had lived in a couple different cities, or a couple different towns already. And then we moved to a town called Thompson. And we went from being rich to being middle class, even probably a little bit lower than middle class. We weren't living in poverty, and we always had everything we needed, but I think the biggest problem there was where we were living in Thompson was not the best area, especially for me. The shock of almost being rich in one location, and then instantly we're even lower than the middle class, just a little bit. So that was a big shock to me, and that's where I actually about a year later, I think I fell in love, and that lasted a year and a half, but it was young love. And then when I was up in Lynn Lake, when we were rich, I was mainly focused on hockey. Like my grades were very good, but I really thought that I was going to be an NHL. That's what I was shooting for, was to play professional hockey. And a ton of support from my family. They were very good. They did everything they could, because I really was. You were seeing results. I was a very good hockey player at that age. And when we left, like, for me in my age group, I felt like I was really king of the town. And then that was all taken away from me, and we went to Thompson, and I continued to play hockey, but it was different. All of a sudden, I'm the new guy. I still got picked on a pretty good team, but I really didn't have that good of a year that year in hockey. Perhaps it was because love had taken over. I was also I went from being in love with hockey and feeling on top of the world to sharing my passion of hockey and love with a partner, and and falling down to the middle class. And then, so that span lasted about 2 years. And then I fell out of love with the woman, fell out of love with hockey, and then that's where my love for wrestling came in. So I was about 16 years old at this time, and really into the wrestling thing, and was even promoting my own shows and getting little crowds to watch me and my roster of wrestlers wrestle. And I had an opportunity because I just stumbled across it over the internet. There was this contest for free professional wrestling training. You just had to send in a video, and the free pro wrestling school was in Regina, Saskatchewan. And so I sent my video in, and I won. I won the contest. This is just getting crazy here. Another set of batteries gone. So I'm going to fast forward a bit here. I had lost my passion for playing hockey. I had lost my passion for love, for a relationship. I had lost my passion for wrestling somewhat because I was still running shows in Thompson. That would be the next stage, and that stage actually got pretty big for me in retrospect to how big the town was. The whole town knew about the wrestling, and it was cool. It was fun. I do regret not staying and running the wrestling company for longer, because I kind of reached that the way I felt before in Lynn Lake and Thompson with the wrestling. In hockey, or in Lynn Lake, I was the best hockey player in the town. And I felt like that was my goal for a career. And then I got to the point in Thompson finally. It took a lot longer, but well, I was the best wrestler in the town. I figured anyway. And I did have the championship belt. And then I guess that's where, when I was in Lynn Lake and I was the best hockey player in the town, I wanted to do the hockey for a career. That was kind of taken away from me because our family had to move. When I was at the top of the wrestling game in Thompson, I was on my own at that point, and I fucked that one up. Even though in retrospect now, I never would have made it to the WWE, partially because I might have made it in some capacity, but I wouldn't have made it wrestling because I don't like lifting weights. I'm not that much of an athlete. I'm kind of a different wrestler where you enjoy watching the matches, but you're not awed by my body and my look. So, but I still fucked that one up, because even though I was an adult and I was making my own decisions, I was making very poor decisions at the time. Too much partying. I've kind of worked so hard to accomplish the championship belt, and then once I got it, I felt as though I didn't know what goals to set next. And in reality, I had a lot of opportunities to, I could still be running that company today, but I just didn't see where to take it next. I didn't have the vision, and I eventually pissed away the integrity of the company and the reputation. I guess maybe my maturity level wasn't there, even though I was mature enough to support myself and live on my own. I probably wasn't mature enough to support myself and a wrestling company both at the same time. Then, after things quietly fell apart at Thompson Championship Wrestling, I moved to Winnipeg, and really for I'd say about 2 years, I did what most guys do in their early 20s, and that's just rip it up. And that's the phase I've kind of been stuck in for a little while. I haven't really set any big goals. I've fallen into a couple good jobs here and there, and I've kind of just lived, you know, and I've gained pleasure from a lot of the small things, but I haven't had really the big thing like wrestling was, or like hockey was, or like Heather was. So I've kind of been missing that big thing. I tried to go to school for plumbing of all things, and that was just doomed to fail right from the start, because I've never had real any interest in being a plumber. So that was a decision that was a poor decision to go to school for 6 or 7 months for plumbing, and it never really worked out because I didn't apply myself, first of all, and second of all, I didn't really have the basis of knowledge to strive in that industry. The first day in class, all my other students were already way ahead of me for the plumbing industry. So here I am now, sitting here at 11 o'clock at night in a room that I'm renting out. Pretty good house, but I stay strong and I stay optimistic, and especially my optimism has even risen even higher now, because I'm starting to understand that I kind of need to identify myself again with something that'll bring me along. I can't stress enough that the little things are important. I've never lost sight of that. I have lost sight for a few years of the big thing. So it is my expectation and hope that I will continue to hold the vision for the little things, get a big thing going. You go. Now let's see what this one clocks in at. Might be 35 minutes, not sure. We shall see.